So there's this teacher that everyone loves and adores, and one day she's at the front of the class and all of a sudden, bam, she just drops to the floor. It's an emergency and they ring the husband. He doesn't immediately answer because he's at work, and when he eventually does, he looks scared. This man drops everything and he immediately goes to the hospital, but when he gets there, things don't look good. The doctors tell him that the headaches that his wife's been experiencing are actually a tumour. Prognosis is so bleak because the doctors are like, if we do something, she'll probably die. If we do nothing, she'll definitely die. So this guy's like, great, where do we go from here? But then just as you're pretty sure that she's going to die, another woman comes along and she's got an iPad and she takes the guy outside and she's like, you see this scan of your wife's brain? Yeah, that little bit there. If we can upload that bit of her brain that's enmeshed with this tumour onto a server like the iCloud, we can probably save her life and also save that part of her brain, because if we damage it, it doesn't matter, we've got backup. A bit like nowadays when you lose or you damage your phone and you can just upload it straight from the cloud. So essentially you just get left with like a clone of your own phone, and it's like, we don't panic anymore. Essentially this woman is suggesting he does the same but with his wife's brain. And so obviously he's a desperate man, but he's also suspicious. And so he says to this woman, does it actually work? And she's like, yes, I had it done myself. We can tell that this man immediately wants to say yes, but this is America, which means he has to pay for absolutely everything. And so he's like, I really want to do it. You can tell he wants to do it, but he doesn't know if he can afford it because it sounds very spenny and it sounds too good to be true. The woman tells him that it's $300 a month. And the guy's like, I can't believe it. I can pay £300 a month and get my wife back. I would give anything to get my wife back. Yes, let's do it. Even though he doesn't really know how he's going to get that money, he's going to make it work because he wants his wife back. But there are conditions to his wife coming back, and they are the fact that because his wife's brain will be connected to a server, she essentially will have to stay within a certain amount of like radius. And if she goes outside that boundary, she will just conk out. But this woman does say that they plan to go international at some point. So she's like, it's just a matter of time. So if you sign up now, bring your wife back, then eventually in a year's time, 2 years time or whatever, she will be able to travel yet again. And he's like, small price to pay. Where do I sign up? She also tells him that his wife, she'll have to sleep more. And he's like, again, small price to pay. Let's go. So he signs it. He basically signs up to have his wife on subscription. For whatever reason he stops paying, his wife will just cease to exist. The next thing we know, they are travelling home in the car and she's like lucky to be alive. Praise be. She can't believe that she's there, and she can't believe what she's reading when she's reading this paperwork to tell her she's basically been brought on subscription by her husband. Her life is in her husband's hands, both of their hands, because they're very much in love. But they now have to find this extra £300 a month. And before all of this, we did find out that they did have dreams of becoming parents themselves, but unfortunately it just hadn't yet happened. It's looking like those dreams are being put on the back burner, at least for now. For a while, everything's kind of blissful and they just can't believe their luck that they get to spend all this extra time together that they would never have actually had, like the natural world, I guess we could call it. But then things start to catch up with him. So the husband, he starts to take on all of these extra shifts, like a lot of them. Like 1 month, he's working every single day. Like this poor sod, he has no break, no respite, but he's willing to do it because he loves his wife. And then we start to see his wife sleeping more and more. So at this point, she has gone back to her job as a teacher, but she's starting to sleep in lots. She can barely lift her head from the pillow. They don't know what's going on, but something's weird. And then their anniversary comes around, and so he decides to do something really sweet and take her to like this hotel place that they always went every anniversary. Mind you, she's so tired she couldn't even remember that it was their anniversary. So they're driving there. As they cross the boundary of the town, she completely conks out as if they've gone past the boundary of where she's allowed. But he's already checked the map and she should be allowed across that boundary. So he's like, what the hell is going on? So they take her to the hospital, and then that woman is there again, you know, the iPad one, the one that sold them the subscription, and she breaks the news to them. This is when they find out that the company has completely scammed them. So originally the company said that they could go like X amount of miles. That's now changed. That's like halved. So essentially she's just stuck in that town unless she pays more. Now they're saying, oh, to go that little bit further that was originally included in your tariff, your tier, no, now to go that far, you will in fact have to pay $500. Now remember, they could barely afford the $300 of keeping her alive, and now it seems to even leave her town, they will have to pay $500. And not only that, the reason she's been sleeping so much, that has to do with them too. Apparently now, if she wants to sleep like the average amount, again, she will have to up that tier to £500 a month. And as if the whole sleep thing, prisoner in your own town, wasn't bad enough, then one day, because she's so tired, her husband offers her a cup of coffee. It then triggers her to come out with an advert for coffee. Things get progressively worse because then this woman who's a teacher goes into school and starts spurting out these random adverts in front of the children, which then gets her in trouble at school. Parents complain and then staff have to have a word with her, and then she actually ends up insulting a member of staff because she tells her to like go to this over 50s dating thing, which is actually an ad, and the woman's like, I'm 49, and this is like obviously her boss. So then eventually they're like, you can't work here, you keep saying ads out loud. They sack her. At this point the pair of them are absolutely miserable. She has no job, they're not going to have a baby. She is sleeping all of the time and he's working all of the time. They have no choice but to upgrade her. In absolute desperation to raise money to save his wife, yet again, the husband resorts to pulling his teeth out and drinking his own wee live on camera so that strangers will donate money. Wife has no idea that he's doing all of these shameful things, horrible things to himself on camera just to keep her alive. And it's so sad because every time things seem to get better, the company seem to move the goalposts yet again. So they'll add something else to the next tier, something ridiculous you have to subscribe to, so that they're always beholden to these people. You go there and they do beg this woman, but she's like not listening. She doesn't care. She's like, yeah, there's nothing I can do. If you stop paying, she'll just conk out, she'll die. And then one day, this poor bugger, he goes into work and a picture of him has been printed out and put onto the side for this humiliation website that he's been using to raise the funds for his wife. Goes and he confronts the guy, the one that's printed the picture at work and put it on the side. Goes to hit the guy, and then as the guy steps backwards, he gets hit by a vehicle and crushed. And this causes the guy to get sacked. So then he goes home and he has to tell his wife that he got sacked. So he doesn't want to talk about it. Of course he doesn't want to talk about it. Because how can he explain that he's been doing all of these humiliating things just to keep her alive? And meanwhile, they are watching adverts on TV for the company, you know, the one, the subscription one. They are constantly upgrading tiers. So there's like a video of a girl and she's like jumping from building to building, doing all this cool stuff. And they're like, oh, if you upgrade to this one for like $1,000 a month or whatever it is, you'll be able to have all of this energy. Meanwhile, she's just laying on the sofa, just basically wasting away. And the couple, because remember I said they had hoped to become parents, they'd already bought a crib. And then you see them, they have to sell the crib, and then they start to have to sell everything in their house, eventually to the point where they don't even have a TV. And the man, he starts to pour like hard liquor into his coffee in the mornings because obviously he's so depressed because neither of them are living. Well, they look like completely different people to the people that we originally saw, because he's missing teeth and her hair is like lank by her face and she looks very poorly. In the last scene, they're both in the garden and he has just spent his last bit of money. He upgrades her for this very small amount of time. They both go into the garden and the sun is beating down on her face, and you can tell for the first time in a long time she feels at peace. She takes out his phone and he looks at the app that is associated to her brain, and he gets Serenity up because he can control all that, and he turns it up to the max, and you can tell she feels nothing but serene. Then she turns to her husband and she says, I think it's time. And so they sit out there in the garden enjoying themselves until the timer is up and she starts to feel terrible again. And then he carries her inside and he lays her in the bed and he takes a pillow and The best part is the entire time that he's doing that to her, she is reciting an ad. It's really quite awful. Then when the job is done, he takes something for himself and he goes in a different room and he shuts the door. And that's the end of that. The best Black Mirror episode I've ever watched.